1,000 complaints? Let's read them. I want to help them, but I don't know how.
Sydney's railway timetable has been redesigned a lot over the years, but however, it's still broken. Today, we'll try to improve it, and make our own to show how we would make it. This is our proposal to fix Sydney's rail network. There are several key factors that influence how we design a railway timetable. Firstly, we want to make our service easily accessible, which means that people can easily reach our service in time. Also, we want to ensure that it is frequent enough so that passengers can comfortably use it, but not too frequent or we waste a lot of space. Finally, we need to be able to ensure that the services connect well with other services. Here is an example of a real timetable for a part of the T1 Western Line which we will use to compare to what we're going to improve on. While this sounds good on paper, it needs to be modified. I have deliberately set this during the school peak as it is the busiest time of off-peak rail travel. But generally, we should try to ensure that our services are accessible by everyone no matter where they were, so we will need to research information about when customers use our trains. We will take a look at 3 entries on our timetable. We will also go back to our example of school students wanting to be picked up, as they make up a very high proportion of patronage. I will put major schools where students are released during this time and the estimated arrival times of students. Our main area of interest is around the Blacktown region, as this area is seriously underserved during this time. As you can see, those from the hills who arrived very early have a convenient connection, but everyone else has to wait 15 minutes. But all we have to do is shift the timetable forward 5 minutes and they have a much better connection. Though this is not based on a real timetable, it shows just how simple solving some problems really are. You just need to change a number. If we take a look here, we can see that most of Sydney's train lines run every 5 to 10 minutes on peak, but the T3 and T5 still operate every 15 to 30. Also, the off-peak frequency for most lines is up to 15 minutes, and the off-peak frequency for the T3 and the T5 is every half an hour. This means that these poor stations get a train every half an hour. Come on. That's outrageous. Also, most of the other lines can still be congested at times both during peak and off-peak. Our train frequency must be improved. We will modify our timetable. Most lines will now operate every 5 minutes on peak, and every 10 minutes off-peak. Minor routes like the T3 and the T5 will operate every 10 to 20 minutes during peak, and every 20 during the off-peak. We will retain the original off-peak times for weekend frequencies. By increasing the frequency of trains, we make sure any passenger can comfortably show up to a train station at any time and expect a train with a reasonable time, aka a turn-up-and-go service. Those living with a metro in the northwest get a great turn-up-and-go service, so why shouldn't the rest of Sydney? The final point I want to make is based on connections. Services need to connect well with other services, particularly in underserved areas. We will take a look at a real example. Route 782 is a bus route from Warrington to Penrith via Warrington County. But if you see here, 6 times a day, the route extends to St. Mary's, serving the industrial and residential estates in North St. Mary's. The last bus out of St. Mary's departs at 2:51 p.m., and a train towards Penrith departs at 2:55. This means that everyone on that train has missed the last bus for the day. This is an example of an extremely poorly designed timetable. There are some things we can do to reduce this. Firstly, we can of course move the train timetable back and forth. However, this is not possible for absolutely every single bus service at every single stop. Either that having the train arrive earlier would cause everyone to be able to board the bus that would have otherwise departed, but the same thing would happen with a different service, or having it depart later cause the same problem. The next thing we can do is to move the bus timetable to match the trains. This may work for some smaller stations, but most stations in the city cannot handle tens of buses coming in at once if they all must come when the train comes, although it could work for stations in the west and the south. However, please be advised that this could create large service gaps, considering there are only buses when there are trains, and people want to use our buses all the time. While it could work for smaller stations, it is still not a good idea for larger hubs. The last thing we can do is to bring the on-demand service to more places, possibly for most of metropolitan Sydney. The city doesn't need it as we already have lots of hubs for trains, buses and light rail. Private companies will be operating this service as they do now, but we could see the government operating the on-demand service too. On-demand services will pick up a lot of slack in western and southern communities. Say goodbye to an hour's wait for an allegedly useless bus where a few more services could make all the difference to people's commutes. Before we finish, to improve connections we will have trains stop for longer at some stations, as shown here. Having longer dwell times will allow passengers more time to transfer between other trains and buses. Sydney, we've done it. Now that you know how to design a better railway timetable, would you go ahead and do the same in the real world? If we want to encourage more to give up cars and lead to less congestion on our roads and less greenhouse gas emissions, implementing these changes will make public transport a much more considerable option. But what do you think?